What's up, guys? Matt Brown here for PlayPicks.com, TheLines.com, joined by the Grand Poobah, the man in charge, Brett Collson of TheLines and of PlayPicks here, guys. As we get started every single time with these videos, everything is absolutely free. We do at TheLines and PlayPicks, and of course here on the YouTube channel. So please go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below and let us know in the comments, like the video as well. Give us the thumbs up, and then also down in the comments, let us know if anything we talk about with these early lines or anything you're interested in and how you might go about playing some of the games this week as we record this here on a Tuesday morning. So lots will happen between now and when these games kick off on Sunday. Don't even have the initial injury reports yet from these teams. So certainly keep that in mind as we kind of run through these things here, Brett. A very quick recap of this past week here. And I think what we saw, just real quickly, I think we did see kind of, I'm not going to say a changing of the guard, but I will definitely say that I think we are seeing that these young quarterbacks are really emerging as the future here. And some of these guys that have been tried and true and steady eddies for us for the last 5, 6, 7 years, you can kind of start to see, we knew that the decline was coming. I don't think we knew that the decline was coming as quickly as it has gotten here. And this even goes back to the Thanksgiving Day games with Matt Ryan, with Drew Brees, with whatever. These guys are certainly on the tail end of their career, and certainly the father time is hitting them quickly.
Yeah, it kind of sucks. I don't want this to be my lasting impression of Tom Brady and Phillip Rivers. These guys are terrible. Tom Brady can't even throw a football anymore, and we're seeing sharp declines in these offenses. So yeah, you're right. This has been tough to watch because these are guys who these are Hall of Fame players,
right?
And we're seeing the worst of them here at the end of their career. And it's difficult. It
is difficult. I mean, we are, as you mentioned, Phillip Rivers. It's very tough with this Chargers team to figure out how, they did kind of get shafted there at the end of that game. That's neither here nor there. But in a game where they should have, you would think with a quarterback making his first start, been able to go out there and try and control things, and was not able to do that. And of course, Brees and Brady with their arm strength, and Matt Ryan just looking confused at times and stuff. It is interesting. And then you have these other guys. You have the Mahomes and the Lamar Jacksons and those guys of the world going out there and absolutely crushing. So, yeah, it's interesting, and we will certainly continue to take that into our handicapping as well whenever we look at these games here. As you see on your screen, this is thelines.com. You'll go up here to NFL, and you will click on live odds. Whenever you do that, you will see the live odds come on your screen right here. Of course, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Indiana, and West Virginia. For our purposes, we'll just flip over here to New Jersey to give you a little bit more variance as to what lines we're going to talk about here. And Brett, let's kick things off here with the Thursday night game. Bears at home against the Cowboys. They are catching 3 points at DraftKings. It's 2.5 at FanDuel and PointsBet, 3 over at Sugar House. And, we are seeing two teams here. I think a false kind of resurgence for the Bears because they've gotten to play a cupcake game. And I think people are worried, or people are actually trying to make it seem like the Bears are good again. And then the Cowboys coming off a very disappointing loss.
Yeah, an embarrassing loss on Thanksgiving. And that line moved a half point or even a full point off the look ahead to the key number of 3 or even 2.5, like you said. I don't understand what Dallas is trying to do offensively. Like, the play calling in that Bills game was atrocious. I have to think it can only get better. But honestly, I have no idea what either of these teams are doing offensively. We talked about Nagy and Jason Garrett a lot over this year. Yeah,
just two of the bottom 8 coaches for sure in the league.
So this being played on a Thursday, I have no idea. I might just throw this game away because I don't know what to expect from either of these teams anymore.
As you see on your screen right here over on DraftKings, 43 is the total in this one. No opinion from me really either here. Short week, 2 bad coaches. I think a fake narrative going into this that the Bears are better when really it was just soft competition. No. I don't think Mitchell Trubisky's any good. And of course, really tough to back this Cowboys team right now with how their play calling is going and the way that they're playing. So not jumping them down about getting to the window on that one. And let's talk about not jumping up and down to get to the window on another one. And this is some news that you just informed me of right before we hit record on this. The Carolina Panthers head to Atlanta to take on the Falcons as 3-point dogs, but they are going to be without their head coach.
Yeah, Ron Rivera just got fired 3 minutes before we went on air. So we'll have to gather more information about that. I don't even know what they're going to do about an interim. So that'll be worth watching here after we post this video. But that'll be a narrative going into this matchup.
47 the total in this game. And I kind of understand that. Look, bad Falcons defense, bad Panthers defense. in theory, a Falcons offense that should be able to move the ball and score. And we've seen this Panthers team, at least in garbage time, start to get a few yards and get a few points here. Might take a look, might continue to consider. I mean, definitely going to be a good weather game because it's in the Dome there in Atlanta. Might consider the over in this one just a little bit, Brett. We'll have to dig in a little bit further here over the next 24 hours.
Yeah, and the matchups are interesting here too. Like last week, I loved the Redskins against the Panthers because I knew they would pound the rock against this depleted Carolina front. Can't really say the same about the Falcons. They like to air it out. So this could be a good spot maybe to get back on the Panthers, but with the coaching situation now, I honestly have no idea. So we'll dig into this more later in the week.
And as you see, guys, on your screen right here, these sportsbook up here, just click on these little logos if you are located in one of the states where these sportsbook operate. If you want to sign up, risk-free bets, deposit bonuses, free money even at DraftKings and whatnot. So be sure and take advantage of those whenever you are signing up to play. And I would highly recommend, even if you are signed up at one book, to go ahead and get an account at a couple of more, because there, as you can see just on your screen, varying lines all over the place, even as we sit right now. 5.5 at some books, points bets at 6. They're at 2 at 3 at DraftKings. They're at 2.5 at FanDuel and points bet. So, if you have a lean to a certain game, take advantage of that. And Brett, I mean, also we say this every week, but I mean, these guys are competing for business so much. The promotions that they're running week in and week out is just, I mean, you just got to take advantage of these things.
Yeah, hopefully you did over Thanksgiving. I will say, if you want, I'm not saying wait because the season's coming to a close, but I'm sure there will be more holiday promotions coming up around the holidays too. So just in time for the playoffs, if you do want to kind of hang out and wait around for the next couple of weeks.
Baltimore Ravens head to Buffalo to take on your Bills. 5.5 at DraftKings and FanDuel. We're sitting at 6 over here at PointsBet. The Ravens just continue to roll on here, Brett. This thing did open at 7, so it has been bet down. People jumped on the full touchdown with the Bills at home. So now we're sitting at 5.5 on this thing, 6 over at PointsBet, like I said. But, what do you think of this Bills team getting the big win on Thanksgiving Day? And, there's really nothing else we can say about this Ravens team. They just continue to go out and get it done week in and week out.
Yeah, and I continue to get punished by fading this Buffalo team 2 weeks in a row now. But teams just refuse to attack the biggest deficiency on this Bills defense. Like I said earlier, like Zeke Elliott only got 11 carries against them last week. I will never understand.
After going for 56 yards in the first quarter.
On that first drive, they just ran the ball right down their throats and then just gave up on it. So, I mean, look, the Bills continue to impress. I don't see this as a good matchup for them, though. The early action looks to be on the Bills, although most of the tickets are coming in on the Ravens. I'm really excited to dig into this one because I actually think there might be some value on the Ravens, which is crazy to say after I've been saying week after week that it's time to sell high on this team. But I love the matchups here for Baltimore. This is a super interesting game.
I went ahead and put this in my account. I'm thinking maybe when Wednesday and Thursday comes and the limits get bumped, I think people with the bigger bets are going to come in on the Ravens at under 6 points here. I'm like you. I mean, this is basically the nut low matchup for this Bills team.
Yeah.
And we know for one thing, they're not going to get away from running the ball like the Cowboys did. Why in the hell you have Zeke go for 50 yards in the first quarter and then go completely away from it is beyond me. I have no idea, but that's because Jason Garrett is the coach over there. We know for sure Harbaugh does what works, and he will run the ball. If he has to run the ball 40 friggin' times in this game, he will run the ball 40 friggin' times in this game to get this win here. I think this is like one of the bigger mismatches the Bills will face all season long. And, even if there are weather concerns, Brett, I mean, at any point in Buffalo, things could get rough. You're talking about a team that's a power running team. So it's not like they have to get it done through the air. It's not like one of those things where Lamar Jackson has to go out and throw for 230, 240. He got it done this past week throwing for just over 100.
Yeah, the crazy thing is all I keep hearing about is how great this Bills run defense is. Well, that's because nobody runs against them. They gave up 6 yards per carry to Zeke, but only 71 yards. So that must mean they're great at stopping the run, right? No, they're not. So this is a really sneaky, phenomenal matchup for the Ravens. And I have a feeling I'll be all over this one too.
43.5 the total in that one, as you see right now, guys. Imagine that total will move one way or the other depending on how the weather thing kind of starts to shake out. There's a few cities that we pay pretty close attention to when it comes to weather situations this time of year. Buffalo's certainly being one of those. The Bengals and the Browns. Brett, I'm sure you are loving this game right here. Bengals 8.5-point dogs on the road at the Browns. Browns go out, lay a complete egg, and then the Bengals get their first win of the year after they go back to the Red Rifle. Here they are, a division game, heading to Cleveland as 8.5-point dogs.
Yeah, and the look ahead here was 10.5. Bengals off a win, Browns off a loss. Great matchup here for the Browns. The line looks short to me at first glance. This is the first meeting between these two teams, so we haven't seen just how able the Browns can exploit this Bengals run defense, which I think they will be able to with Chubb and Hunt all game. So I think this is a good time to sell the Bengals off their first win.
Yeah, this is just like such a classic teaser situation. I mean, taking that 8.5 to 2.5 is just like a dream scenario for me in a game with a 40 total. So I can get a game that is supposedly going to be kind of low scoring here, and all I need is this Browns team by field goal. I mean, it's just such an amazing game for a teaser perspective here. I mean, I think the only way this line moves, or maybe even kind of stays where it is, Brett, as opposed to climbing like you kind of suspect as well, is if for whatever reason AJ Green decides, you know what, I actually will play a game this year. I think people will maybe overreact to AJ Green getting back out there, but other than that, I can probably only see this moving in favor of the Browns.
Possibly. I mean, they got John Ross back too, so they'll have their full array of weapons, but I don't think that matters.
We're looking here at a game here between the Redskins and the Packers. We have 12 at DraftKings, 13 as you see at FanDuel and over at PointsBet. Redskins, I mean, what can you really say about this team? It is completely in shambles. That being said, you do have a Redskins team here, Brett, that, Darius Geis kind of emerged now. Looks like they're going to use him as kind of the primary back and see what they've got in him, and looked really good, actually. And one of the ways that you attack this Green Bay Packers team is on the ground. They actually have a pretty bad run defense, this Packers team in general. So, I'm certainly not advocating here this early in the week to back a Redskins team, but at least it's worth pointing out that it looks like they're going to move to Geis. It looks like Geis is going to have some success in this offense here. It looks like he is completely healed from that injury. And if you were to attack this Packers team, you would choose to do it on the ground. Yeah,
look, that's what I have here written in my notes. It's a similar spot as last week for the Redskins. Like I said, piss poor run defense. Like the Redskins style of football is very enticing when facing a big number because they just grind the clock by running the football regardless of the score. The big difference between this week and last week, though, is of course you got Aaron Rodgers against Kyle Allen and then Dwayne Haskins at Lambeau. It's going to take a big set of balls to fire the Redskins here, especially off a win when the look ahead was 14.5. But I'm intrigued. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah, looking at a 42 total in this one, first glance seems about right to me.
Yeah.
42 just seems about right to me on that one. Detroit Lions heading to the Minnesota Vikings. This is up everywhere, 13.5 at DraftKings, 13 at FanDuel and PointsBet. Brett, we are looking at a deal where unless some sort of miracle happens, it's not going to be Matt Stafford under center there for the Lions. We'll have Blau again this week. They moved Driscoll to IR. The big question coming from the Vikings side here, will they have Thielen back? Will they even have Dalvin Cook out there because of this? Will the ankle injury where Stephon Diggs had to leave for a series in that game, could that kind of become bothersome to him once the adrenaline wears off and stuff throughout the course of the week? Some decent question marks, at least here, for this Vikings team. That being said, I'm not sure it's going to matter. I mean, even if Cook has to sit, Madison has looked like a very, very legit NFL running back, and I think he could carry the load, get it done here for this Vikings team. Always minimally hesitant to lay nearly 2 touchdowns in a game, but I think this Vikings team could probably handle this Lions team pretty easily, even if those guys don't play.
Yeah, they could. This does line up pretty well for Detroit, though. Extra rest, short week for Minnesota, who, like you said, is beat up offensively. Madison looks fine, but there's just no replacing Dalvin Cook if he's out this week. Plus, like you said, Thielen, Diggs, their status is up in the air. Might be tough for this offense to cover 2 touchdowns, but I mean, this Detroit defense is a dumpster fire. So who knows?
It is definitely that. This is not one I would put in my account early in the week, guys. If you want to play doctor and you want to guess and maybe go ahead and take the Lions at 13.5 right now. I don't, it's fine if you're pretty risk averse or whatever. It depends on how risk averse you are. But I'm going to wait for information here. I kind of want to see how everything plays out. And, who knows? If I miss the best number by a half point here, maybe it is. But if the Vikings are going to be real short, if they're going to be real short on the offensive side of the ball, I mean, we saw stretches in that Monday night game, Brett, where, it looked like there just wasn't anything that could be done with the team whenever, Diggs is on the sideline, Thielen is out, and then Cook is out of the game. And you're talking about now at that point, you're throwing to BC Johnson and, you're having
Kyle
to rely
Rudolph
on Kyle Rudolph, who
he has somehow been stepping up lately. That guy continues to do things offensively. But yeah, they're, Irv Smith. I mean, these are the guys they're going to have to rely on. I just don't see it happening.
42.5, as we mentioned, the total in that one. 49ers and the Saints. 3-point home favorites here for the Saints. This 49ers team, this thing opened at 3.5 at some spots, Brett, and was quickly they took that hook and have moved this thing to 3. Saints at home. There are people still betting this 3. You can see it is juiced at a couple of these places as we sit right now at 118 at DraftKings, 120 over at FanDuel. So has moved to 2.5 over at PointsBet already. So this thing has moved to 2.5 here. If I would have been on the mark here and could have gotten the 49ers with the hook, then that probably would have been something that I would have taken advantage of. Doesn't look like I'm going to get this in my account as we sit right now, Brett, but this thing gets to 2.5. If this gets to 2.5 and I find another leg as maybe that one we mentioned earlier, taking the 49ers up to 8.5 here seems like a pretty decent little play for me. I just think this defense has it in them enough to where even if they lose games, and I think we've seen it so far this year, they're just not going to lose games by a ton.
It's a great football team, but this is a pretty brutal stretch of schedule here for the Niners. Packers, then Ravens, now the Saints. They've got the Rams and the Hawks coming up. I feel like a letdown game could be in waiting. And it might be here on the road against New Orleans off some extra time. They played last Thursday. So I'm really looking forward to this game. I'm excited to dig into this later in the week. But as of right now, this number looks perfect.
Yeah, this might be one of those weird situations where I end up betting both sides of this thing, taking the Saints at 2.5. Yeah. Taking the Saints at 2.5 and the Niners in an 8.5 point teaser. And kind of like seeing how I just see this game kind of being a 1-score-ish type game or something like that. But we'll dig in a little bit further in the week on this one for sure. Sitting at a total of 44 seems about right on that one to me. Dolphins and the Jets. I have no analysis for this. You take it away. Dolphins at the Jets.
No, it's 2 gross teams and a gross number, so I'm not going to be spending any time on this one.
I mean, will be one of the very first ones to get scratched off of my list, I think, here. I mean, I guess the only thing you could look at is the total here is at 45. I think we've seen that this Dolphins team is pretty good at just scoring garbage points. Do you think that the Jets can do their part at home here against this very, very piss poor Dolphins defense? That might be my only look in this one, Brett, is sitting at 45. Do we think the Jets can rebound against a very horrible defense? Because one of the things we have seen is Darnold has had a few big games so far this year, and they have been against the league worst defenses.
Yeah, and I do think they can rebound. This is going to be weather dependent. I haven't looked at the weather too much. It's still way too early in the week. But if the weather looks okay, I think the over is the play here, and I think we'll see it start to climb as well.
Colts and the Bucks 3-point home favorites across the board here against this Colts team. Bucks, man, is this not one of the weirdest teams, Brad? I mean, like, you're sitting here, Ronald Jones gets benched for missing one pass pickup, one blitz pickup, and now Peyton Barber is scoring touchdowns all over the place. Arians is crazy, but I mean, it is what it is. Bucks here, 3-point favorites at home against the Cowboys.
Yeah, and it looks like a lot of early money coming out of the Colts, and I I get it, but as we said last week, the wheels are coming off this Colts team, especially on offense.
Yeah.
They just haven't been able to move the football at all without Hilton or Mack. So can they rebound here on the road against Jameis and this high-powered passing offense? I'm not so sure. This is a tough one to figure out because the Bucs team is just so volatile.
47.5 the total in that one. We typically like to look at overs on Bucs games, but I feel like, Brett, that they have baked that into this number at this point because this Colts team doesn't really inspire you that they're going to be able to go out and score a bunch of points here, but we're still looking at a 47.5 point total.
Yeah, and it's not just the off. I mean, it's not just the positive offense for the Bucs. It's also the negative offense with Jameis throwing picks, which helps the other team in as far as field position and possibly scoring off a turnover. So I mean, that's definitely baked in this point in the season. Looking at all of the turnovers Jameis has had so far.
Broncos and the Texans. Broncos 8.5 point dogs on the road at the Texans over at DraftKings. It is at 9.5 right now at FanDuel and over at PointsBet. So we see a differing, at the sports books out there. And like we said, this is why you kind of shop the lines and whatever, a whole point difference over in New Jersey between a couple of books here. Texans came out with the perfect game plan. I mean, just absolute perfect game plan against that Patriots defense. And, look, props to Bill O'Brien. I've been the first to rip him left and right because I think he's made some of the most boneheaded decisions over the last few seasons. But that was a well-coached game. Deshaun Watson played one of his good games. Deshaun Watson has no like middle of the road games, does he, Brett? It's like he's either all world where you look at him and say like, man, this guy is like, well, literally a top 3 quarterback in the whole league, or he goes out there and just puts up a complete clunker. There's like nothing in the middle with this guy, and this was certainly one of the all-world games from him.
It was, and man, the stock on this team is soaring after that win. A game that really was not as close as the box score shows, and everyone watched that. They just dominated that game, and it had a lot to do with Watson. But the Broncos did hold serve at home against the Chargers last week too. So I mean, the betting is pretty evenly split so far in the week. Probably a game I'm just going to throw away just because it's kind of in that middle area between the key numbers, but this is not one of my favorite ones early in the week.
41.5 the total. Of course, Broncos defense is definitely stout. Imagine you're going to see Chris Harris shadow on DeAndre Hopkins, and so can the Texans get it done elsewhere? Well, we just saw last week. We saw DeAndre Hopkins get shadow coverage from Stephon Gilmore, who has been the best shadow corner in the league so far this year, and they were able to get a win with their ancillary parts over there. So, Brett, I think this could play out kind of the same way, right? I mean, you're going to get an elite corner on your elite receiver, but with Stills back healthy, with Fuller back healthy, and then the emergence of Duke Johnson there in the backfield and whatnot, I think that they showed that, they don't have to run everything through DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, Duke Johnson's awesome. They have to get this guy the ball more. Will Fuller, man, this guy, he's similar to Watson. I mean, it's either hit or miss with him. He was awful last week, and they still found a way to get a win. They got the ball to their tight ends who were making plays, Fells and Akins, and then of course Kenny Stills with a big touchdown there after Will Fuller dropped that touchdown. So yeah, they have ways to score without DeAndre Hopkins, so they can certainly continue doing that.
Chargers and Jags. Of course, Jags have now gone back to Gardner Minshew. He will be the starting quarterback for the Jags. They are 3-point home dogs to this Chargers team who cannot seem to win a one-score game to save their life so far this season. They did get back Derwin James this past week. I think the defense did play a little bit better and did look a little bit better. It looked rough early, but I think once those guys kind of got, and Phillips was back as well, I think once those guys kind of got back in the rhythm, the defense started to play pretty well against that Broncos team, and for the most part kind of shut them down after a couple of early scores there for the Broncos. I think the problem just is on the Chargers, just the offensive side of the ball. You mentioned it at the top of the show. It's Phillip Rivers, and the guy just looks completely done. I mean, like absolutely completely done out there. And it's kind of a shame because Keenan Allen's still a baller. Hunter Henry's still a baller. Austin Eckler is a baller. You got Mike Williams who's making big plays. I mean, it's not for lack of weapons on this Chargers team for sure.
Yeah, and that's why I look at this line. I'm like, why is this team a road favorite again? But like you said, on defense, getting Derwin James, getting Adrian Phillips back is huge. Phillips, they were easing in last week. James was on the field for most of the game, and after he got his his shook his rust off. He was fantastic, and we saw the change in that defense. I'm surely going to be looking at this one closer throughout the week because this number does look a little off to me. I'm leaning Jaguars early in the week, just because they get Minshew back. I don't think there's a huge difference there. Maybe though, just in the locker room.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know. I think they're a better team with Minshew. So this line looks a point or two off to me.
Titans and Raiders. Raiders 3-point home dogs. They are getting actually a lot of love here. You can see that +3 is juiced across the board here, even juiced over at PointsBet, where they don't move a lot of times on as quickly as some of the other books do. 120 at FanDuel, 115 at DraftKings, and then 115 over at PointsBet as well. Of course, the Raiders looking just about as awful as this Raiders team can look. Look, Brett, I know this seems like this must be a trap spot. I know, and they're trying to say that through the way that this line is laid out right here. But I mean, if I'm getting plus money at a field goal with the Titans at FanDuel, even money, you're getting plus money over on PointsBet actually at the field goal with the Titans. I don't know, man. It'd be tough for me to lay off of that. I mean, this Titans team to me is just so much better than the Raiders right now. Derrick Henry, for whatever reason, just gets this second burst every single year at this time and is just plowing through this team. I mean, the Titans, the only bright spot has been the run game for the Raiders really here over the last month of the season. And the Titans actually are much better against the run than they are against the pass. I don't know. What am I missing here?
Nothing. I'm with you. I thought the market would have caught up with the Titans at this point. I'm not sure it has. This is a really good football team, and the Raiders are unraveling. Their season is toast, and really just playing for pride in front of their home crowd with these final couple home games. So, I mean, I think this is probably short of where it should be.
46.5 is the total in this one if you are looking at maybe playing the total. Chiefs and the Patriots, the game everyone is going to be talking about this week. 3-point home favorites are the Patriots against this Chiefs team that is coming off of, an impressive performance, but they were gifted so many things in that game by the Raiders. So, the defense played absolutely great. And I think there's no way for us to kind of deny how good this defense played there. That being said, Raiders gifted them a lot in that game as well. And then we saw the deficiencies of this Patriots team start to play out here. And mainly that is, Tom Brady's just having a tough time getting the ball down the field. He's still really accurate, I think, on these kind of intermittent passes, and they're using the backs fairly well and whatnot, Brett. But when you just don't have any sort of downfield threat whatsoever, which they really don't, because N'Keal Harry just, being on IR all year hasn't had a chance to get in there long enough to get any sort of rapport with Tom Brady. And we know Tom's not going to throw you the ball if he doesn't trust you. And so it's essentially backs out of the backfield and Edelman as much as humanly possible, mix in a tiny bit of Sanu, but we know what Sanu is as well. Sanu's not a downfield threat. He's not a big play receiver either. And it just seems to me that this Patriots team is just lacking an element on the offensive side of the ball that in today's NFL just really needs to be there.
Yeah, they have not been a world-beating football team in what feels like 2 months. This offense stinks. So this is a very interesting spot with the Chiefs off a win, Pats off their second loss in 3 games. One we'll be talking about certainly Thursday and Friday, so I'm excited about that. A little early for me really to have a lean on this one, though, at 3.
Yeah, 49 the total in this one. I mean, again, I hadn't dug in yet. Initial lean to the Chiefs here because I do feel like this defense playing a little bit better. Maybe there's something to them having the bye week and being able to kind of figure some stuff out. And then also just from what I'm seeing from this Patriots team, I mean, I'm never going to count Bill Belichick out by any stretch of the imagination, but it just it looks like this offense is really hamstrung by the personnel, and the personnel actually starts at the top with Tom Brady. Steelers and the Cardinals, not a game that I'm going to be super incredibly interested in here. 2.5 across the board as we sit here on an early Tuesday morning. Steelers 2.5 point road favorites. to the Arizona Cardinals. Brett, if I were to tell you that the Steelers may or may not have Juju Smith-Schuster and James Conner and had a guy named Duck Hodges at quarterback and they were favored on the road at the beginning of the season, what would you have thought?
See, I was really high on this defense coming into the season, but even still, I would not have thought an offense without all these pieces would be favored by 2.5 on the road, really, against anybody. I think this is kind of a fascinating matchup between this defense and the air raid. I'll reserve comments on that until Friday, but this could be a sneaky fun game with Kyler against this pass rush. 43 the total in that one. That is something I'm kind of interested in as well. I do think I do think that the Cardinals will be able to put up some points here, and we certainly know the Steelers will score on this putrid Cardinals defense. And so I don't know. I mean, 43. I'm going to take a look at that one a little bit more as we move on. Last two games here, of course, Sunday night and Monday Night Football. The Seahawks and the Rams. Rams 1 point home dogs to this Seahawks team that went out and, look, the Vikings had to deal with some injury stuff and whatnot. But listen, that doesn't discount what the Seahawks were able to do. They were able to hold on at home, beat a really good Vikings team, and also do it while Tyler Lockett, Brett, I'm going to check the box score one last time, even though I did it 10 times last night. Let me look. Oh, no, it's still 0 catches for 0 yards, and they scored 37 points against the Vikings defense. Yeah, and he was on the field a lot. That was wild. That he, how many targets did he have last? I feel like he wasn't even really targeted either.
Only had 3 targets.
Yeah, they did. I mean, the Vikings did a good job, I guess, of containing him. They just couldn't cover anybody else on the field last night. So they got the job done without Lockett. 48 the total in this one. I don't know, Brett. This seems like a pretty good matchup for this Rams team at home. Yes.
The Seahawks secondary. I mean, look, there was no Thielen out there. As we talked about, it was Kyle Rudolph and BC Johnson and friggin' like a bunch of dudes that, I mean, it's just like, what is going on with the Vikings pass game? And they were still able to move the ball pretty well against the Seahawks team. And now you're talking about the Rams with all 3 of those weapons. And then, I mean, do we call Higbee a weapon now too after his game last week? I don't know. This seems like a pretty good matchup for this Rams team.
Yeah, I looked at the spread this morning and I thought this was wrong team favored. With this being an important division game, I don't think these two teams are that far apart. And the spread is telling us that the Hawks are 3 to 4 points better on a neutral field. I'm not sure about that. So I am excited to dig into this one. I would love to get this one in my account now. But you tell me, I mean, it looks like money's coming in on the Seahawks. Is this going to keep moving towards the Seahawks this week?
Listen, that's why I didn't, because I kind of feel like it will.
Yeah.
And I think that the sentiment is so down on the Rams that it could move towards the Seahawks. That's why I didn't put it in my account, actually. Like, I think I might get a better number here. And so I'm going to hold off, and I hope that I'm right. But I mean, listen, here's the thing. The Seahawks ran for over 200 yards against the Vikings. And this is one of those things where this Rams run defense is actually one of the better run defenses in the league. And they got exposed by the Ravens. But I mean, listen, that's just a completely unique offense that they run there for the Ravens. So I think you can kind of just chalk that up as, Lamar Jackson in that offense right now is just a unicorn, and they're completely unique, and it's really hard for any team to scheme against that team. I think the Rams, with a much more traditional running offense that the Seahawks run with Carson and Penny, I think the Rams run defense kind of comes back, like shows up again. And then you're forcing them, kind of to go through the air. And that's not the worst situation, I think, for the Rams. I mean, look, yeah, Russell Wilson's still playing amazing here, but Metcalf is still trying to get there. They haven't really figured out a way to work Gordon into the offense at all. And here we have 2 weeks in a row with Tyler Lockett. I mean, he claims he was sick last night, but 2 weeks in a row where Lockett has kind of been a no-show. I don't know. This just continues to point to the Rams for me, but I'm actually going to hold out because I think we might get a more favorable number.
Yeah, I think so too. And on the other side, you got a Seahawks defense that doesn't get pressure on the quarterback, so Goff could have some clean pockets this week. I think I think this is wrong team favorite, but waiting might be the smart move because this could keep moving to 1.5, 2, and hell, maybe even more.
Right.
We'll see.
Giants and Eagles round things out on Monday Night Football, and I know you're saying, really? And I know, I know, I understand. Trust me. Differing opinions all over the board here. DraftKings at 9.5, FanDuel at 8.5, and then over at PointsBet they're at 9. So you actually have any way you want to bet it, Brett. If you want the 8.5, the 9, or the 9.5, you can do it over there in New Jersey. And we are looking over here, at least at DraftKings, at a total of 46.5 in this one. I think this is a scenario where had the Eagles won last week, this would have easily been double digits. But since they didn't, this thing opens, and sits here as a single digit. But it wouldn't surprise me as these limits get bumped and people are able to put down more money that the Eagles start to take some money pretty heavily here.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, the look ahead was 9. The Giants got smoked. So if the Eagles did win, this would be 10. The problem is I have no idea what this Eagles team is. They're still in the playoff hunt.
Right.
And they just refuse to try to win football games. So this is going to be a stay away for me, I think. This team is almost as difficult to cap as the Patriots week to week for me. So I really don't know. I don't know what to do. I mean, the fact that the Redskins are now still in the race to win this NFC East is a disgrace to this Eagles team. This Eagles team should be running away from this division. I don't know what they're doing.
Pretty interesting stuff. Again, 46.5 the total there, and of course we do standalone content for Sunday night and for Monday night games, so you can always check back to our latest thoughts on that after we've really had a chance to. I mean, we take super deep dives into the island games, and so individual articles written on the lines and play picks, and of course I do videos just digging in as deep as humanly possible to help you make the decision that you want to make in these games, and so be sure and check out for those videos. And again, you can do that by subscribing to the channel, which I know you've already done because we asked you to do it at the top of the video. But again, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down there. Go ahead and let us know in the comments if any of these lines jump out to you. As you can see, I'll scroll through one last time here, and this is handy dandy. You just go over to NFL Live Odds, and this is located on the lines right here. You can compare all the different books in all of the different jurisdictions that are going on. So be sure and take advantage of that tool, and of course take advantage of all these sportsbook sign-up offers because free money is awesome, and we should definitely take advantage of that when the sportsbooks are going to give it to us. Brett, I'm looking forward to Thursday when we talk with Jay about these games, and certainly Friday. We will definitely be back this Friday for our Circa podcast. Of course, the holidays kind of get in the way of that, but we went 3-2 last week on the shoulders of Brett's picks. My picks, not so much. So at least we had a winning week. We are in it. We can at least say that we're in it as far as contending for the quarterly prize because a 3-2 week is not terrible.
Yeah, we'll probably have to go 5-0 at least 2 of the next 4 weeks to win it. But yeah, we're not dead yet. I'll take it 3-2.
Not dead yet. Guys, as always, head over to the lines for all of your content needs. Of course, breakdown of the big college football championship games as well over there. For Brett, I'm Matt. See you guys back here on Thursday.